For this recipe, the ingredients that you will need are going to be 2 pounds of the jumbo shrimp, and that is the big shrimp. You will also need 2 containers. You'll need some cilantro, chile serrano, and habanero, avocado, some lemons or limes, a lemon squeezer, potato peeler, a knife, an onion, a red onion, some cucumbers, a cutting board, gloves if you'd like. I'll be using gloves. I'll start off by putting my gloves and peeling the outer layer of the onion. Then I'll be cutting the onion in half and then cutting it into very thin slices. I'm just going to use half of the onion and maybe just a little more of the other half. You can use a whole onion if you'd like. After that, I'm going to be putting it in a container. Make sure that the container that you choose is big enough so that when you put your shrimp and your cucumbers in it and everything else, it's big enough so you don't have to transfer it into another one. I'll be cutting 4 lemons and I'll be squeezing the lemon juice onto the onion so that it becomes nice and tender. After you squeeze the lemon onto the onion, you'll be leaving it aside. Once we're done with our onions, we'll be putting them aside, grabbing another container, and peeling our cucumbers. I'll be using 2. I started off by cutting the ends, peeling the cucumbers, and after that, I will be cutting them in half. And with a spoon, I'll be taking out the seeds from the middle and putting them into the blender. So after we're taking out the seeds from both cucumbers, I will be cutting them into thin or semi-thin half moon shaped slices and putting them aside. And once we are done cutting our cucumber, we will grab our blender and put in the remainder of our ingredients. The habanero, some serrano chiles. I'm using around 7 to 8 serrano chiles, but if you don't like spicy, then I suggest you use 4. I'm putting in half the avocado. I'm using 3 shrimp, a little bunch of the cilantro, which I am cutting into smaller pieces just so that it doesn't get stuck on the blade. I'm also squeezing some lemon juice into it. I'm using 3.5 lemons. And then I'll be adding a little bit of water to it as well. Now we will take our ingredients over to be blended, and while that is happening, we will check on our onions. I am leaving my sauce for my aguachile a little bit thick just because my husband likes it like that, but if you do not, then you can add a little bit more water to it. Once all of our ingredients are blended, we will set them aside and start peeling our shrimp. Once your shrimp is peeled, you will bring it over to the sink and rinse it a couple of times. I like to do that just to make sure that the shrimp is nice and clean. Once you're all done, you will bring it over to the cutting table and start cutting. After your shrimp is nice and clean, you will be cutting it in half. If you don't like to bite into big pieces of shrimp, then you can always cut it into smaller bite pieces. I did forget to mention that the shrimp that I am cutting, I'm adding it to the container that we set aside with the onions and the lemon juice. Like I said before, we are adding our shrimp with our onions and the lemon, and we are going to stir it very well and set it aside. After a couple of minutes, we'll be adding some salt to our shrimp. I'll be adding half a tablespoon of salt for now and stirring it very well. After we add the salt, we will be setting it aside. So after about 25 minutes, you will start adding your cucumber and your sauce, and you'll know that your shrimp is ready because it will look white. It will no longer look clear. Right now here I do have some that look a little clear still, but that's alright because after I add everything to it, I will let it sit for another 10 to 15 minutes. So we are going to add our cucumber, and we're gonna stir it a little bit before we add the sauce just to incorporate it with the shrimp and the onions. So after your cucumber is well incorporated with your shrimp and your onion, you are going to add your sauce to it. Make sure you add your sauce little by little and stir it so that it incorporates with the rest of your ingredients. Once your sauce is well incorporated with the rest of your ingredients, you can go ahead and taste it to see if it's to your liking. If not, you can add more salt to it at this time. Once the taste is to your liking, your aguachile is ready to serve. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more. Thanks for watching.